Welcome back to that channel, Getting It Done Fishing. Yes, sir. No excuses, just big bass after big bass. Yes, sir. In today's episode, we're talking about, it's kind of a twofold mistake that we make, and I'm guilty of it. You know, a lot of people that go bass fishing is guilty of it. And it's really not reading a pond or not switching lures. You have to have the ability to change, be able to adapt to the pond. Even while you're fishing, you have to be able to adapt to the environment, and the pond's always changing, or the lakes are always changing. You have to be able to adapt to it. And what I believe makes a good fisherman into an awesome, super awesome fisherman are those people that can adapt to a pond, being able to read a pond and make their adjustments. The biggest issue is reading a pond and not being able to adapt to the lures. And I think they're both connected. Don't go out there and just pick, hey, I'm going to stick with a chatterbait no matter what. Or, hey, you know what? They're not biting in this section. I'm going to go to another section. I'm fishing major feeding time. I'm fishing spots I know hold bass. If those lures aren't working, you got to switch it up. Now, as I say, you don't want to go in your bag and switch up, you know, throw out 4 times, cut and throw out 4 times, and keep on changing lures. You know, I always go back to why I keep it so simple. It's first because you can become really good with a set of lures. And those set of lures that you become really good with should be able to cover all situations. You should have some type of finesse. You should have some type of fast moving. You should have something in between. Again, you should always have a top water, just depending on the situation. And that should cover you. You have to be able to adapt to the pond by reading a pond. If you're fishing a section of the pond and you know it's not working, fish it. Don't change the lure and keep on fishing it. Go back. Fish another section. Hey, chatterbait's not working. I'm going to go to finesse. I'm not going to hit that spot with a finesse. I already hit it with a chatterbait. I'm going to go check out this other spot. I'm going to try finesse. Then I'm going to let things kind of calm down in that area. Fish in this spot. Then I'm going to come back. It's about 15, 20 minutes, maybe a half an hour. Things have calmed down. Now I'm going to fish that section with a finesse. What you don't want to do is you don't want to stay in one spot and keep on changing lures. My personal opinion, that never works. But if you could go to a different spot or 2, 3 spots and a finesse, hey, that works. Now I'm going to circle back around. I'm going to hit that spot that I didn't hit with a finesse. Again, I give that time to that spot to kind of cool down, to kind of, let those bass kind of just, calm down a little bit from the noise, from the lures coming through, and I'm going to hit it back. You got to read the pond. The other thing you have to do, and I was, another example, same thing, fishing yesterday. I was on one side of the bank. This happens a lot, more than I think we'd like to admit. And, I fish a pond that's pretty big, and there's no trees or anything to block the wind. And if I'm fishing in the fall or the spring, and that wind's coming out of that north, that's a cold wind, and it's blowing across that pond, you have to read that pond. You got to read the wind. And I think a lot of people don't realize how much wind plays a factor in fishing. And yesterday I was on this bank. That wind was blowing. It was blowing that murky water into the section of the pond. And I said, this isn't where I want to fish. It's too windy. I'm looking at the other side of the pond. It's calm. And there's kind of like a little cove. And I can kind of see that water is clear. It's less murky. I said, you know what? This isn't working. I know there's bass in there, but the way the wind is blowing and the way that water is moving and the way that dirty water is coming in from the overflow, I switched over to the other side of the pond. It was calmer. The water was clearer. I started fishing. I caught one. I missed 2 big, huge bass. And they were in the cattails. I set the hook and I missed them. But my point is, you got to be able to read ponds. You got to be able to read the water conditions. You got to be able to read the wind. Where is it blowing? I personally, now again, it might be different on big lakes, but for me in a pond, I'm always paying attention to the wind. I'm always paying attention to if the wind's coming out of the south, which is going to be warmer. The wind's coming out of the north. It's going to be colder. Depends on what season I'm fishing. That really plays a huge part in bass. bass do move around. Bass aren't always going to stay in one location. So you got to be able to read the wind, the water clarity, and adjust your lures to that. Don't stick with one lure because you like to fish it. Trust me, I like to fish a chatterbait all day long. Just go around the bank and just go around the pond and fish a chatterbait. Doesn't always work. The pure example was yesterday. And you know, you might come around that pond, you get on the other side, and that wind starts kicking up. I've done this. I've been in a situation more times than not. I'm fishing one side of the pond, I go to the other side, and that wind's just, man, it's blasting me. I'm looking at that water. I'm looking across that pond. It's like, well, that section of that pond is pretty calm. I like to fish calm water. It affects the bass. I think it affects the bass more than what we like to admit. 80% of the times when I switch and I say, hey, even though I already fished that area 15, 20 minutes ago, and that wind's like just is blowing that water, and I'm like, this ain't gonna happen. I go back to the other side where it's calm. And usually, typically, 80% of the time, it's money. It's money. So again, pay attention to that. Pay attention to the water clarity. If it's raining, you know, is one section of the pond clear? You get little back coves. Sometimes you get coves. A lot of times that water's a lot clearer. It's not so murky sometimes. You got to fish that. That wind's kicking up and it's blowing. I like to fish calm water, especially if it's blowing really hard and it's pushing against the one of the bank. That's tough to catch bass in that situation. I'm going to that calmer water. 80% of the time, that's the right call. Getting it done, son. So, you know, in conclusion, you really have to read the pond. Don't get stuck in what you want to fish. Fish what the pond wants you to fish. And what I mean by that is, again, I love chatterbaits. God knows I love chatterbaits. My favorite lure. I'll fish a chatterbait all day long if I could. I'll only fish it if it's successful. You can't be afraid to change. Don't change by cutting and tying 1,000 different lures. Work on becoming good with 4 or 5. I like 4, but 4 or 5, you know, different types of techniques or lures really help you to cover all these situations. Again, if you're going to go for one spot, and don't hammer that spot and cut and tie, cut and tie, cut and tie, cut and tie, and keep on hammering that spot. I tried that spot with a chatterbait and a swim jig. Okay. Next spot, tried it. Next spot, I'm going to switch to a finesse. Okay, finesse is working. They're hitting the finesse. I got a pattern. They're coming out of hydrilla. They're coming out, you know, I figured out the depths. I figured out where they're at in the pond. Now I can circle back to those spots. Those places have calmed down. And again, majority of the times you go back after you let it calm down, you're going to catch bass. You have a really hard time cutting and tying, cutting and tying, cutting and tying, cutting and tying, and catching bass. That's tough. Come back around. You'll get it done, son. Yes, sir. All right. I hope this video helps. Again, don't be afraid to change lures. You got to read the pond. You got to be able to read the pond, read the wind, read the water clarity, and adjust what you fish based on that. Don't expect that whatever I use, I should be catching bass on. That's not how it works. That's not how fishing works. You got to fish what's working in that pond, and based on the water clarity, based on the temperatures, based on the wind, and based on what the bass are doing, you'll be more successful. Getting it done, son. Yes, sir. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to do all that great things. Everybody knows what to do. Don't forget that, all the links are down below. Check out the merch. Link is down below. Check out the membership. Again, a lot of great perks. Go check it out. Greatly appreciate it. Link is right down below. And I'll catch you next time on Getting It Done Fishing.